Welcome back to Forest Tactical. Today we're going to talk about arguably the most crucial aspect of shooting fundamentals that will help you become a proficient shooter, and that's your grip on the gun. Now, why the grip on the gun matters is because if you don't have a solid grip, when the slide starts reciprocating and you feel the recoil in your hand, you're not going to be able to keep the sights on target through repetition, and you're also going to have a harder time controlling your recoil anticipation. So the way to overcome this really comes down to two key principles. That's leverage and that's friction. So demonstrating what I mean on that, every time you pull the trigger, the bullet's obviously going to go out the front end and an explosion happens right here in the chamber, causing the slide to reciprocate backwards, and you get this type of motion going on. Now to control that, we want to get as high to that slide as possible. I want you to imagine for a second that you're putting this gun in a vise and you were going to fire it. If you put the vise down here, you can't guarantee that in the course of that recoil, it's not going to bounce back and lose the grip on the gun. But if you put the vise as close to the top as possible, when that recoil happens, it is less likely to move from the position where you have it. So first key, leverage, meaning we're getting as high up on the gun as possible. We don't want to be down here with our grip. The lower we get away from where the action is happening, the less we have the ability to control that muzzle flip in recoil. The higher up on the gun that we get, the more likely we are to control that recoil. The same goes for your non-dominant hand. We want to be as high up on the slide as possible. And if your thumb gets in the way right here and is touching the slide, I promise you it's not going to bite you. You're not going to feel it. That's okay if it's touching the slide. But be as high up on the frame as you possibly can to get that proper leverage on the gun. The second key element is friction on the gun. Going back to the vise example here, if you clamped the gun in on one side touching the gun and the other side you put a piece of material right here, and then you put the clamp on the other side, it's going to weaken your ability to control the gun. And a very common mistake you see with new shooters is their thumb on their non-dominant side gets in the way and they want to grab like this, and they try to fight for the real estate on the gun with their non-dominant hand, causing you to try to grip your own thumb, and it really doesn't help you a lot in recoil, and it's impossible with how awkward that is to actually maintain that grip. When you start firing, it's going to break free and it's going to move around and it's not going to be consistent. It's not going to be a good grip. The way to overcome this is to get that thumb and give me the thumbs up with your dominant hand. This thumb actually does nothing to help you with recoil control, and it just gets in the way. So just get it out of the way, give me a thumbs up, and that leaves this nice open space right here. This area of the frame is exactly where you want to put your non-dominant hand. So you're going to put it as high up as possible. We want leverage on the gun, and you're going to control and fill that space, making sure contact is actually being made with the gun. If you've got big hands and this hand gets in the way, just loosen up just a tiny little bit, give it the real estate to get your non-dominant hand on, and close off that grip as much as possible. For new shooters, this is really awkward because you're almost pointing your hand out in a way that you're not used to and gripping the gun tight. Just fight through it, build muscle memory, and I promise it's going to help you in the long run. The next thing to consider is your natural point of aim and where the gun's going when you're pointing out. You want to have it in the hand in a position where when you're coming out on target, the barrel's not pointed either way in an awkward grip. You want to make sure it's completely level and straight so that if you were to just punch out, the gun's going to be straight and pointed right at what you're trying to point at instead of bladed to the sides. Once you can establish that, then like I said, leverage and friction, get as high up with that grip as possible, come in, establish your grip, make as much contact with the gun as possible, and you're going to grip really, really hard with your non-dominant hand. Now a note real quick, with smaller guns, if you have big hands, if I'm squeezing as hard as I possibly can with my dominant hand, I don't have any space. My hand will not fit in that space. I loosen up just a little bit, backed off that space, and now there's a window right there where I can put this hand and establish it. Then I fill in with my dominant hand so that I have contact on the gun, primarily with my non-dominant hand. Your non-dominant hand is what's going to be controlling a majority of the recoil, and this is where the pressure is coming from. So next key element is how to grip the gun. This motion of squeezing like you're crushing a soda can isn't the type of grip that you're going to want on the gun. So with your non-dominant hand, it looks more like a C-clamp. You're coming in like this and you're clamping the gun. Most of the pressure should be up here, and lower kind of thumb areas where you're going to feel most of the contact. And you want that pressure coming down, like I said, as high up on the gun as possible, but we're C-clamping. We're not crushing the gun, we're C-clamping. As far as grip pressures go, you're going to hear a lot of different things out there. What's worked for me is gripping as hard as I can with my non-dominant hand. Now, if you're to the point where you're gripping so hard that you can't even control the gun where it's at and it's shaking all over the place, you can back off just a touch, make sure you can stabilize the gun, but you want 100% grip pressure with your non-dominant hand. As far as my shooting hand, I still grip tight with the gun, but majority of that pressure is coming from the left side, and that will help you control recoil and gain consistency. One of the biggest problems with people not being able to control recoil and find their follow-up shot is not having an even grip pressure. They'll start out at like 100% pressure, then through the second or third shot, they loosen up, and then they'll tighten and loosen as they're going. That makes it impossible for you to be able to put accurate shots down range without flinching, without recoil anticipation being a huge factor. And if you can grip really, really tight and stay with 100% of your grip pressure through the course of fire, your odds of having anticipation affect your placement of your shot go down drastically. So it's really important you grip super tight with your non-dominant hand and you keep that pressure through the course of fire. Quick break. If you like what you're hearing, please comment, like, and subscribe for more content like this. So in recapping, the two most important things you can do to become proficient with a handgun with grip is remember leverage and friction. Get as high up on the gun as possible, to the point where I can even see the top of my hand and the way it's interacting with the top of the gun. Same thing with your other hand. You're going to get as high up on the grip as possible and fill that space. The second key is friction. It's easy with your dominant hand to establish that grip and find real estate on the gun. Don't close off the space for your left hand. Don't let your thumb come down and block the area that needs to make contact with the gun from your non-dominant hand. Keep that thumb up and place your non-dominant hand right there where you need it so that you control recoil. Once again, as high up as possible, as much friction on the gun, and that's going to help you control recoil. The next key aspect is making sure you maintain a consistent grip pressure through your course of fire. If you start out at 100 pressure and by the second or third round you start loosening up with your non-dominant hand, the rounds are going to start going everywhere. So make sure you can tighten that down and you stay 100% through the whole course of fire. This is awkward. Building a grip and maintaining consistency is very difficult, and it's hard to keep that consistent grip pressure. That's one of the downfalls of new shooters and why people want to quit right away when they don't see instant results. But this is something you can practice at home, whether you have a dummy gun or whether you have your actual gun. Make sure ammunition is cleared from the room and you want to practice dry fire. You can practice coming up on target, keeping an even grip pressure, making sure that the grip is consistent, and finding that consistent draw. On a daily basis, I like to come from the holster, get my draw, establish my grip, come out and check it and make sure I'm 100% consistent. If you're doing dry fire practice, this is where it can actually come to hurt you. If you practice establishing the correct form on your grip, but you're not gripping with as much pressure as possible, you're going to get out to the range, you're going to have the right grip on the gun, but the wrong pressures because you didn't practice keeping 100% grip pressure with your non-dominant hand. It's super important in all the practice that you do that you maintain 100% grip pressure until you're done with your course of fire or your dry fire practice. And when you come back to the low ready, if you want to loosen it up, that's good. At the end of the day, your range session should test your grip strength. If you're not leaving thinking, wow, my hand kind of hurts, my grip strength's been tested today, you're probably doing the wrong thing on the range. The last word of advice I'd give with this is consistency is the way to master the handgun. There's a lot of fine-tuning things. At the end of the day, what really matters are your sights aligned on target and did you pull the trigger without moving the gun. What seems so simple actually comes down to a lot of muscle memory and a lot of fighting what we call recoil anticipation. If you have the correct grip and your grip pressure stays consistent, you will see consistency with your shots. But that all comes down to consistent training, both at home and practicing getting that grip and building that grip strength and keeping a consistent pressure, and also at getting a consistent grip outside of the draw every single time you pull that gun out of the holster or every time you're coming from the low ready. If you can build those consistencies, make it muscle memory so you don't even have to think about putting 100% pressure on the gun or where to place your hands on the gun, that's when you start to master the handgun. Everybody who's mastered the handgun has gone through these steps that I've explained today and made it a consistent part of their practice. And through the consistency, they've built habits that have ultimately allowed them to become great shooters. Thanks for tuning in. That's all I've got for you guys today. Please comment below, share the video. Let me know what helps you with your grip and what you've learned in the past. I know there's some other techniques to it, and other people have learned unique ways to be able to shoot. So comment below, let me know what you think. We can have a good discussion in the comment section, and I'll see you on the next one.